I hate dogs. You know, back in the day, if you would have asked me like, hey, Grotesque, are you a cat guy? Are you a dog guy? I honestly probably would have told you that I was a dog guy. I love playing with dogs, running around with dogs, taking dogs for walks. I love hanging out with dogs. But after moving to Florida, I hate dogs. And see, the thing is, dogs in themselves, you know, dogs for the most part are pretty okay, so I should probably reiterate. I don't just inherently hate dogs, I more specifically hate dog owners in Florida. You see, back up north, it was just kind of like an unwritten rule. If you were gonna take your dog out for a walk, you always had them on a leash. And if they were gonna be in your front yard, you either A, you had them on a leash, or B, you know, your front yard had like some sort of fence or a gate so then they couldn't get out and attack literally anybody that was walking by. But let me tell you something about Florida. See, Florida in itself, you know, all the people down here are pretty brain dead. Basically, anybody that you meet in Florida is a waste of air as it is. I mean, there's a few decent people down here. Like, I have some neighbors around here that are pretty cool, but the thing is, all the neighbors around here that I would classify as cool are either middle-aged or elderly. Otherwise, anybody that lives in Florida that can be categorized as being like Gen Z just genuinely sucks. That being said, yeah, like literally all of them have half of a brain, and they leave their dogs in their front yards without gates or leashes or anything like that, so anybody that walks by, they can just attack any innocent bystander. Or in the case of last night, they can have a really aggressive dog that will literally chase somebody for half of a mile in their backyard, which, you know, the backyard in itself did have a fence, but then they'll make the fatal mistake of just, you know, leaving their gate wide open so the dog can escape. So I have plenty of experiences and dog stories that I can tell just from the time that I've lived in Florida alone, which has only been like 3 years at this point, but I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the one that happened last night. So as you guys probably know at this point, I like running roughly about 6 miles a day, which equals out to 12K steps. So last night, you know, I was feeling pretty good. I ate my chicken burrito and rice and had a little snack pie, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm feeling pretty good. Then I looked at the clock. I was like, hey, it's about 6 something. It's about time for me to go for my last run of the day, go knock out the last 2 miles. Let's go ahead and get this done. I took the final swig of my ice drink, got my shades on, got my keys in my pocket, got all my running gear on. I was ready to go. I was feeling pretty good and happy last night. And of course, the one time that I'm feeling good, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling energetic, and I go out for my run, I'm no more than maybe like 5 minutes into said run, you know, I'm feeling good, I'm going uphill, and then all of a sudden, I hear this dog running around. I hear it going crazy, barking. Next thing you know, I look to my right, and I see this dog that is like jumping up at the fence. I was like, oh, thankfully there's a fence there, so there's no way that the dog can get me, right? Right. Well, this person had a relatively sizable backyard, so I was like, yeah, there's a fence there, I'm all good. But then once I ran past to the other side of the house, I realized that they had a gate that was wide open. Next thing you know, I hear this dog just take off across the whole length of the backyard. Like, this dog is charging, and next thing you know, he comes to the opening of the gate, and he does not hesitate. This isn't a thing where we have like a samurai standoff and we're staring at each other for a second. No, he is full on just charging at me like a bull. My fight or flight kicked in instantly. My legs straight up went Ultra Instinct Goku mode. I was sprinting for dear. He was onto me for a good little while too. I don't know how long it was exactly because again, my fight or flight was going so crazy that like time didn't even exist. I was in the Matrix. I was in like that Flash multiverse mode, you know what I mean? Where like time slows down for him but it's going normal for everybody else. I had no idea what was going on. Unfortunately, I was running so fast that my body could not keep up with me, and next thing you know, this dog was coming up on my tail, no pun intended, and I forgot that as I was running uphill, you know, the road that I was running on, it's not very even on the edges, you know, it's not like a nice road that like comes out to a nice endpoint on the sides like most roads do. No, this is a road that's like rather jagged. There's literal chunks of the road missing on the side of it, so yeah, I ended up kind of messing up. It's really embarrassing to admit this, but well, I fell and yeah, I ate it pretty hard. However, I'm starting to think that that was like a blessing in disguise from like something out there in the universe. As this dog was chasing me, it was very clear that this dog was not chasing me to play. Like, this dog was actually aggressive. Like, it was chomping and barking in like like, you could tell from a dog's demeanor whether they're friendly or whether they're trying to eat your throat out. This dog was trying to not only eat my throat out, but also use my intestines as his appetizer for his next couple meals. This dog did not like me, and yeah, I was just trying to get away from it. But anyways, after I fell, I guess that's all that the dog wanted to do. I guess the dog just really wanted me to fall because afterwards he sat there, looked at me, he barked a couple of times, and then he turned around and just charged back for his yard, and then I was just like, what? And after that, I just kind of sat there in shock. I was like, oh, I fell. That sucks, but at least I'm alive. So afterwards, I got up and I was like, okay, you know what? It was one of those freak things. I've been chased by dogs many, many times in the times that I've lived down here in Florida, whatever. It is what it is. The owner sucks. I'll just get up and continue on with my run, right? right? Well, no, not more than 30 seconds later, that same exact dog sees that I got up, and it wasn't very happy about that. It was barking more intensely than ever before and was running much faster than before. Next thing you know, once again, this dog is on my tail, but this chase did not last for as long because, as embarrassing as this is to admit, I fell again. I don't know what was going on last night. I guess I was just extra clumsy, but once again, the dog just looked, stared at me. It barked a few extra times this time because last time, you know, it only barked like once or twice, just being like, yeah, stay away from my turf. But this time it was angry barking at me. And then it turned around, ran back to its backyard. And after that, I got up and I just started sprinting. Like, it was one of those things where like I was mid-fall, but like as I was falling, I was trying to catch myself. And then, you know, in between that time, he ran away. And after I got up, I saw him, you know, he was barking, jumping at the fence again. And before he even had the chance to catch up to me, I sprinted away from there. I sprinted much longer than I had to. See, normally when I go out to do my runs, I do them in like 2-mile increments, at least for my last 2 ones of the day. And at that point, I was maybe no more than like half a mile into my run, if even that. But I ran for the last mile and a half, like just full on sprinting. And by the time I got home to assess the damage, I realized, oh yeah, I'm bleeding. There was blood on my elbow, on my hip, on my hand, which the blood on my hand was just from me like touching my elbow and be like, oh yeah, I'm bleeding. Thankfully, the side of my leg wasn't like bleeding necessarily, but it has really bad road rash right now to a point of where it hurts. No matter what I'm doing, whether there's something covering it, touching it, whether there's nothing there, it just, even if the wind just slightly grazes it, like it hurts. I don't know if I should say that it hurts, it just more or less burns, which I guess could technically be considered the same thing. I'm not one to complain too much though, so after I got home and like after I was talking to my mom about it, I just did my thing. I was like, yeah, I'm fine, it's not that bad, but on the inside, yeah, I'm kind of like screaming inside of my brain even now. Like, it burns pretty bad. See, normal road rash is one thing, but when you're falling on like 100-degree Florida asphalt, yeah, it doesn't feel good. That being said, I'm not one to whine about my pain, so I'm just kind of sucking it up, playing my Call of Duty, trying not to think about it. I scrubbed it like crazy after I got home last night, because I just don't want it to get infected, and then later today, I'm probably gonna throw some like burn cream and gauze on it, and just like wrap it up with like a non-stick pad and everything like that. I'll never forget the one encounter I had with these two I don't even know what they were. They were either like, I think they were pit bulls. There was these two massive Shrey black pit bulls, and oh my gosh. So as I said, I like to go out for runs. I go out 4 times a day. The first run of the day, I do about a mile, and then I do another one later in the morning just to kind of break up the workflow after, as I'm like editing videos, that's another mile, and then I do my last 2 of the day, which are 2 miles each. So I was going out for my first one of the day, which was only a mile. I do that around like 7 a.m. just kind of get the blood flowing. So I was out running, doing my thing, and funnily enough, it was actually in the exact same spot that the incident from last night occurred, like literally on the exact same road. It wasn't the same dog, it was different dogs because again, they were just Shrey pit bulls. At least I believe they were Shreys because they didn't have collars, and I don't know what dog owner doesn't give their dogs a collar. But anyway, it was roughly around the same spot. I was running, doing my thing, going uphill, and then I see these 2 massive black pit bulls, and it was one of those things where like with the way that the road is shaped, by the time that they saw me and by the time that I saw them, they most definitely had my scent, so they were already sitting there, like both of them just sitting there facing me. And it wasn't one of those things where they were sitting there looking at me in a friendly manner like, hey, look, that's a dude running by. No, they were both sitting there like looking at me in a way where I knew they were getting ready to charge and come get their breakfast. Again, both of them looked very, very angry, and considering the fact that I'm pretty sure they were Shreys, I'm sure they haven't eaten in a while. I don't know if dogs would actually ever eat a human. I've never heard of that occurring, but still, I'm not taking that chance, especially not in Florida, because let's be honest, this place is an actual hellhole. So by the time that I saw them, again, they most certainly had my scent, and they were already planning to charge at me. So it was one of those things where my fight or flight kicked in, and I was like, I know I can't turn around because with the way that the road is curved, it would be completely disadvantageous for me. So I decided to just sprint in their direction, but I knew immediately from the time that I started running that I was gonna have to pull some like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady level jukes. So basically what I did is pretend these are like the dogs right here and this is me. I was sprinting towards them and they were coming towards me. And at the very last second, I straight up like zigzagged all the way to the right, to the other side of the road. And immediately when I zigzagged, they started like kind of tripping over each other. Like I'm pretty sure that the one dog actually ended up clashing into the other one a bit. Granted, I wasn't looking at them, so I don't know, but I heard the impact and I could hear like the one dog kind of losing his footing for a moment. So I ended up running into this random driveway, and then basically what I did is I juked the dogs around the cars. I remember there was like a sedan and like an SUV or a minivan or something like that. But basically I ended up juking out these dogs, and then I got the one dog to slip up and smash his face into the minivan. And then after that, the other pit pit bull was still in my tail, so there was like a telephone pole. So I did another lap around the sedan, and then I lapped around the telephone pole, and once again, I got the dog to kind of get confused by the telephone pole. And in the time that those two dogs were confused and trying to get like reacquainted with their surroundings and try to figure out where I went, I was already sprinting up the road. I already took the next turn, and I was away. But with the way that the roads in my neighborhood are laid out, they're like at a certain point as you're running, you're going to encounter a road that you would have seen before. It's really hard to explain, but think of it like Dark Souls. All of the roads are like interconnected in some way or another, and unfortunately this was still the case. And those pit bulls, they were out for revenge because they saw me like at the end of the one interconnected road. Basically, let me try to like draw this out for you guys. So the road that I was coming up was right here, and then there's another road right here that connects the road over here. So think of it like this, and think of it like an H. There's two roads on the ends, one road in the middle, and then there's like the big loop around up here. So it's one massive loop around with one road that connects in the middle of the loop around. Me and the dogs had the encounter right here, and I sprinted up the whole way around the loop around, but by the time that I got right here, the dogs were on the other end of the connecting road, and we both looked at each other, and they came charging at me. Now, the size of this road, I'd say it's roughly about 1/8 of a mile. Those dogs sprinted at me in less than 30 seconds. Like, that whole 1/8 of a mile, they were on a mission. But thankfully, in the time that it took for them to run across the little connected road, like, you know, my brain was already in fight or flight mode. So I ran to the end of the other side of the road, and at the end of the road here, there's like this massive set of trees. It's almost like a mini woods of sorts. There's like a little creek in there or something like that. So I ran and I hid in there, and, you know, I knew that they were picking up on my scent because they got down there, they were sniffing me out, they were starting to come closer to the forest. So once again, I kind of did what I did with like the minivan and the sedan from before. I juked them out around the trees, and then I ran the entire length of that like collection of trees right there. I got out on the other side, and during the time that it took for them to look for me inside of that little like mini wood section there, I was already sprinting back up the road, and I had made it home. It's not all so bad though. There is a few dogs in my neighborhood that I actually do like, and you want to know why? It's because their owners aren't stupid. There is two dogs in my neighborhood that I actually like and that actually like me, and the thing that they have in common is they're always gated off. There's always a fence between me and the dogs, and anytime that they are outside of said fence, they are on a leash, as they should be. If you live in Florida and you're a dog owner, use a leash. And if it's not a leash, keep them in an enclosed area. Is it that hard? But anyways, back when I first moved here, neither of these dogs liked me, but over time, you know, they've grown to like me. They see me running by every day, and in fact, it's gotten to a point of where there's these two dogs. There's a white and brown dog, and then there's a black dog, and the black dog is always defending me from the white and brown dog. So again, you know, for both of these dogs here, they're both like behind fences, so realistically, none of them could hurt me. But back in the day, after I first moved, the black dog and the white and brown dog both used to like bark at me aggressively. They'd be jumping on the fences. They just clearly really didn't like me. But now over time, as like, you know, the black dog has seen me more and more, and it's picked up my scent, and, you know, I wave to the dog, I talk to it from time to time. I never go up and pet it just because that feels inappropriate to go up and like pet other people's animals, especially when it's on their property. But I'll at least like make sure to jog past and like wave, be like, hi buddy. That being said, every time that I run past, the white and brown dog still doesn't like me. It still like kind of jumps around, gets all angry, and it's like barking at me and jumping at the fence. But then the black dog, literally every single time without fail, it will jump into like the white and brown dog's face. Like it'll get right up in its face, and it'll like put its paws down, get in that like dominant sitting position with its like head up, like basically telling the other dog to back off. And dude, it always warms my heart seeing that other dog stand up for me, because every single time the dog would go into that dominant stance, look at the other dog, the white and brown dog gets down, backs away, and then the black dog will turn back to me, and then it'll start like wagging its tail with its tongue out and stuff like that. And it's just, it's honestly so adorable. And then for the other dog, it's a similar situation. It used to always bark at me anytime that I ran past, but now, you know, it always just kind of looks at me. It's just like, you know, we're homies now. Every time I run past, it's like, hey, what's up, dog? I don't even know any of the dogs' names, but, you know, they're pretty cool. That being said, I don't hate dogs. I just hate Florida dog owners. But if I'm gonna be honest, I just think I'm more of a cat guy nowadays.